next guest is an Emmy-nominated actor you know from shows like The Path and Hannibal. He stars in the 21st season of Law and Order, which airs Thursday nights right here on NBC. Let's take a look.
Find out what they were talking about.
Tried. She made herself part of the defense team, filed an appearance at the arraignment.
Okay. So let's work with what we have. You've tried cases without motive before.
I have, but not first-degree murder, and not when the defendant was a global icon.
Just tell the jury what you have and what you don't have.
Please welcome back to the show our friend Hugh Dancy, everyone. Welcome.
Thank you.
I was telling you backstage, I am so happy to have this franchise back. It's so nice to see Sam Waterston. To be in a room with him must be just a joy.
It's incredible. It was amazing being in that room that you just saw with him when he walked back into it after 11 years,
yeah.
I'm gonna say, which I can only assume that his mind was melting, but you just saw Sam's face, you know, impassive, kind of, yeah, incredible.
And this is, you know, the last time you were, I guess, probably on an NBC show, you were FBI profiler Will Graham on
right.
Hannibal. Yeah. And fantastic show. And maybe you would think you're currently playing an ADA, obviously dealing with New York crime, and yet maybe easier than what Will Graham was dealing with.
Nobody is trying to eat me.
Yeah.
That should be the
Must
tagline.
be a nice departure.
Yes, it is.
If you enjoy Hugh Dancy and don't want to see him get eaten, this is the show for you, the new Law and Order.
But I'm not sure that people did want to see that. I don't know. But it feels like a net positive.
Yes, it does feel like a net positive. And you get to film in New York City.
Yes.
And you have obviously done theater in New York City. And again, I think one of the joys of watching Law and Order, especially over 21 seasons, is you saw so many incredible stage actors populate that cast over the years.
Literally every stage actor.
Yeah.
I mean, Sam says this. He feels that Dick Wolf should get a Tony for his services to the theatre. You know, everybody I've worked with has been, except for me. So now I feel.
So this is a big deal for you to finally make it onto a Law and Order.
Yeah, as somebody who's been lucky enough to work in the theatre, but also somebody who lives here.
Yeah.
It feels a little validating, for sure.
And your wife, Claire Danes, has been on Law and Order.
I think I'm right in saying it was her first job.
It was her first job.
Yeah, she played a murderer.
Did she really?
Yeah, yeah.
Good for her. That's a really good first job. I feel like the best they would ever give me on Law and Order is the jogger who sees a body.
You could be on the jury.
I would not. I'd want to be the jogger. I want to be the jogger who's talking to another jogger about some real, you know, BS, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Hard cut, then I'm talking to someone, I'm like, yeah, I was just jogging.
In the background.
Yeah,
like
now, right now, in the background.
Tell us about
overacting.
Yeah. I mean, again, somebody has to do that job. You know,
Somebody
people
has
come
to do
through.
that job. Well, you know Dick Wolf now. Put in a word for me.
Done.
Thank you. I would imagine it's also really cool to shoot on, you know, the New York City streets or your set.
Yeah, I mean, the advantage, I play, as you say, the ADA, so I'm prosecuting, I'm the second half of the show mostly. Lawyers, it turns out, are not the ones that go out into Central Park at midnight.
That's true.
Which is great.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
That's Anthony Anderson and Jeffrey Donovan. They're out there doing that good stuff, and I'm mostly in the studio. But it's great, just, again, the New York... just before I came here, I was in a Italian butcher's, and a woman turned to me and said, you're doing great on LNO. And I thought she said, you were great on the Ellen show.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, well, this is like an hour ago, and I thought I was great on the Ellen show, but it was in 2003.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a long memory she's got, you know.
I wish you'd overreact and said, I've waited so long
exactly.
for someone to give me that feedback. Yeah. You're also in the new Downton Abbey film. That, I guess, is a little bit more like your roots, a little bit more costume drama, which you did back in the early days. Was it nice to get back in those sort of British period pieces?
It was. That kind of dropped out of the sky for me, like, post-pandemic. So there was a kind of feeling of massive relief, honestly, that I was working, but a strange feeling that I had been transported back 20 years in time in my own career.
Yeah.
But then, you know, to find myself in that stately home, surrounded by all those icons, you know, sipping tea and kind of gossiping in between takes was amazing.
Yeah. Your boys are 9 and 3. Do they engage with your work at all? Is there anything of yours that they care about?
Well,
I mean,
that's a tough question.
It's a tough age.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And the youngest one probably doesn't really know enough to care. And the oldest one, well, actually, the oldest one, I went to, they screened Day, the people who made it screened Downton Abbey for me this morning. So before the Italian Butchers, that's where I was. And I took him with me, boldly, some would say, because I didn't know what his response would be. But he claimed to love it.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Yeah.
That's all you can ask for.
He turned to me in the middle of the screening and he said, "This is good. You're good. You're an actor." And the last bit I'm still mulling over.
Yeah.
Because it's accurate.
Yeah.
But it's also quite neutral.
The thing that just gave me goosebumps is I feel like that would be the dream I would want my father to turn to me and say. And I'm like, wait, does that mean you get a new father that's just a young one?
It was so validating.
Yeah.
And then at the end I said, and this is going to seem desperate because it probably was, but I said, so what was your favourite bit? And he said, honestly, he said, the bit when they hired you, which again could have been a plot point in the movie when you see it, but it was ambiguous. Me too.
Yeah, we just need you to work, Dad. We
Yeah.
just need you to keep working. Hey, congratulations again on the show. It's so nice to see you. That's Hugh Dancy, everybody. Law and Order airs Thursdays at 8 p.m. here on NBC, and Downton Abbey: A New Era will be in theaters on May 20th.